Oh, hey there. What's going on? Beautiful person out there in the ether. Welcome to another episode of the Bitchuation Room podcast live stream with yours truly, Francesca Fiorentini. I had an MSNBC special once. It aired in the dead of night. Proudest moment. Bernie Sanders was interviewed. Thank you so much for being here. If you are here, in fact, live, and if you are in the future, do we make it? Number one, and two, what is the genitalia of the aliens that end up conquering Earth? Like, what does that look like? Because I think we're all curious. We got a great show for you today. We've got Brett Erlich from TYT. He is here. He's waiting in the wings. He's practicing his lines. It's very exciting. We're going to talk about ivermectin, among other bad COVID remedies. We're going to be talking about, I'm like, what are the happy things we're talking about? Oh, we're going to be talking about our favorite Boo-Maher who somehow still has a show on HBO, Boo-Maher. With, once again, the worst take ever. But we're really going to be focusing also on Peru with Professor Jose Ragas, who is going to be here explaining the new leftist president that has come to power in Peru, what that means, what's he all about. Is there more to him than just the biggest sombrero I think I've ever seen on anyone, on any politician? Strong sombrero game is what I'm saying. If you're here on YouTube, what up? Can you click the like button? Can you click the subscribe thingy now? Because obviously amazing. And, ring the bell. I know that you don't always get alerts, but when you do, when YouTube, when it's not underpaying employees in the Philippines, sometimes things work. And that's good. That's also great. Also, if you're listening as a podcast, give this podcast 5 stars on iTunes. That really, really helps. And Skin Puppy, who left a very nice review, said, Francesca, stop asking whether we make it in the future. We don't. Sorry, Skin Puppy. Sorry. I feel like your name is very post-apocalyptic already. So anyway, but before we get into everything, I got some announcements. Obviously, next Thursday, September 2nd at 7 o'clock, 7:30, doors open at 7:45. The point is I'm in Portland, Oregon with Matt Lieb, with Max Smith, who's a local BLM organizer, also with Eric K. Ward, who specializes in all things, or at least analyzing all things having to do with the rise of white nationalism in the United States. We're going to be live. We're going to do the show live. It'll be so fun. A lot of y'all have your tickets, but please get them. I think it's bit.ly/TBR Portland. Get your tickets right now. And if you can't get there, we are going to be streaming it if all goes to plan. And I don't know how technology works, but we are going to try and stream the show. So Thursday, September 2nd, here on YouTube, probably also on Twitch. Until, the corporate overlords shut me down. So mark your calendars, y'all. Also, we've got merch. The show has merch. It's beautiful. I'm sure you all saw Dragon Daddy John Idarola modeling it the other day. Bitchuationroom.com is where you can get that. There are tote bags. There are t-shirts. There are stickers. Very, very cute little Frantifa sticker. Let them know. Let them know you're down for the struggle, but with laughs. I was going to say with snuggle, which I like more. With snuggle. Also, for all y'all who don't know, this show is sponsored by you and you only. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Please become a patron. $10 gets you a big old shout out. Just a hearty shout out. Thank you to all the new patrons. I see you. I see you, $5 people. I see you, $2 people. And I love you. But for everyone else, this is the fart song. Yes, I am 8 years old. Will not get over fart humor. Thank you to new patrons at $10 or more. Denise C, Jesus G, to the big tippers, Karen K, defying all Karen stereotypes. Right in your face, babe. Thank you so much. Joseph L, thank you. Twitch subs. We don't have any new Twitch subs. And that's very sad. So why don't you subscribe to this channel right now? Just do it, because like you're here and it's gonna be fun, and you know, whatevs. You can just subscribe. Also, big birthday shout out to Mike Murray, who is a SoundCloud rapper in his spare time. His name is One Off, so look for him on One Off on SoundCloud. Mike, you're a Virgo. I like you. I liked you before, but now I like you even more. Early Virgos, where you at? Mount up. Bernie Sanders, Beyonce, and yours truly. All right, you guys, let's get into it. What are you bitching about today? Just put on your crankiest little dirty diapies. This is What Are You Bitching About? So, today is a pretty sad and solemn day because in the never-ending quest for retribution on so-called terrorists throughout the Middle East and Central Asia, the United States has droned civilians in Afghanistan, in Kabul, saying that they were trying to stop another attack like the one we saw earlier in the week, which was devastating and did kill 170 Afghans plus 13 or 15 U.S. servicemen and women, which is awful. But then in response, Biden's "we will hunt you down" with drone strikes. Yeah, see, the thing is, those drone strikes haven't gotten any more precise. And our intelligence about Afghanistan, which has been shit for 20 years, never got any better. So, of course, a family has died, civilians have died, and thus continues the cycle of creating more and more people around the world who hate Americans for ruining their communities, their nations, for using them as launching grounds for all kinds of ridiculous wars, and earning a hell of a killing, literally and figuratively, off of their suffering. And I think back to 9/11. I think back to when I was coming up and becoming politicized by a very moving group named 9/11 Families for a Peaceful Tomorrow. And their response to their family members being killed on 9/11 was, we don't want war. We don't want more bloodshed. Because when is it enough? When does it end, y'all? Like, when does it actually end? And are any, there's a lot of reporting coming out about this. A lot of that reporting is not leading with civilians have been killed. No, it's just leading with big, strong America seeks revenge on its own being killed. And that's it. Big, strong America, drone strikes. Never mind the fact that we never cover drone strikes when they kill innocent civilians. And we haven't over the last, 10 years, really, as this war has been a status quo of shit. That's one thing I'm bitching about. But the other thing that I think is really important, and I want to get through this real quickly, but for everyone to understand about the role of Trump and Obama in creating this mess that we're in now that we never talk about. Let's leave Obama aside for 1 second, and how ridiculous it was that we did the surge in 2009, 10, whatever. But let's talk about Trump. The media has been giving him an utter pass. They've been bludgeoning, it's all about Biden. Biden screwed up, Biden's withdrawal, but no one's talking about Trump. One of the foreign policy analysts that I've had on this show that I love, who I've followed for a very long time now, is Juan Cole. He's got a great blog called Informed Comment. He writes, he gathers the sort of the best Middle East experts, and so you definitely should read it. He's talking about Trump's role in this entire debacle, right? It would have been a debacle anyway. We know that. I've said that many times, but it actually was worse thanks to, no surprise, Donald Trump. And why? Why is that? Well, because one of the pieces of this is that ISIS-K, which is a form of ISIS, which is this ISIS in Afghanistan, many of them were actually imprisoned. And Trump negotiated a prisoner release of 5,000 prisoners against the will of the president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, right? So this is Juan Cole writing. The Afghan National Army and U.S. troops defeated ISIS-K in 2019, capturing nearly 2,000 militants. Some of them appear to have been among the 5,000 prisoners the Trump administration forced the government of Ashraf Ghani to release last year as part of his February 2020 peace deal with the Taliban, which I explain here. So, Trump's strong-arm tactics on Kabul may have helped ISIS-K reconstitute itself in a small way. I'm sure that the Taliban did not actually want those particular fighters released. This is where he goes into more of the ways that Trump forced this abrupt departure from Afghanistan in an article, 6 Ways Trump Forced an Abrupt Departure from Afghanistan. In the treaty, Trump promised to pull 8,500 troops out of the country in about 4.5 months. He pledged that the Afghanistan government of Ashraf Ghani would release 5,000 captured Taliban and al-Qaeda fighters. Ashraf Ghani at first resisted this provision, saying he was not party to the talks and thought it was a horrible idea. But under strong Trump pressure, Ghani let the fighters go by the following October. So not only is the Trump administration and the media allowing the Trump administration to get away with pretending like they were not on board with the withdrawal, they were not on board with allowing the Taliban to come back into power. Trump openly said that. But now they're rewriting exactly what happened and not being honest about the fact that, yes, some of these fighters, because ISIS-K is not that big. Some of these fighters were already in prison. And because Biden wanted to give the Taliban something, he was like, I don't know, let go of these 5,000 prisoners, even though the president of Afghanistan didn't want that. Let's actually remember and understand recent history. It's funny because the media does have like a Trump industrial complex. They love talking about him, except for when it comes to war. You know he was fucking up in Afghanistan too. Why not talk about it? But no one's talking about it. So, you know, hats off to Juan Cole. Really appreciate his work, and maybe we can get him back on to discuss this more. And for sure, make sure to check out Informed Comment. And on that really, really lovely note, I want to bring in my first guest for the hour. He is a host, a producer, a director of programming at the Young Turks Network, where in addition to producing TYT's flagship show, he recently developed and launched TYT's fastest growing show, Indisputable, with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, so good, as well as his own shows, Common Room, Happy Half Hour, and The Sunday Stream, which just happened, on TYT's Twitch channel. Prior to TYT, he helped develop and launch The Damage Report with John Iadarola. Ever heard of it? Also, Anna Kasparian's limited series, No Filter, and worked on Al Gore's Current TV. I've heard of that. Please welcome Mr. Brett Erlich.
Hey, how's everybody going today? How's everybody going today?
How's everybody
going? 2 hours. How are you going? I sit
know.
every time. I sit no matter which one I gotta go. I
I
sit.
thought you were just streaming.
Yes.
And I thought you were gonna like, you know, I don't know, get up and like run some laps or like do some push-ups or something to like get the blood flowing.
That's a good idea. Now that's all I want to do. I'll do some arm exercise. I've been exercising a lot. We're moving.
Do these ones. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it smells like bleach in here. So if I'm a little lightheaded, if I pass out, I can't imagine what my wife is going through, because it's not even this bathroom that smells. We have 2 little bathrooms.
I love how you guys are like, well, might as well get the blood stains out before we leave. It's like, why are you like,
among other fluids, really.
Yes. You know how it is. That deep clean.
Yeah, we got to do that. And so we're moving. There's not a lot of stuff. So this is the wine that I'm drinking is from this tiny ewer.
That looks like when you order a carafe at some like bullshit restaurant and it's like the smallest creamer. You're like, what?
It's also like, have you ever been to a restaurant where they bring you like, I'd like a glass of wine and they go 6 or 8.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 6 ounces or 8 ounces. Like I'm going to go with the middle price point here. And then they're like, all right, we'll bring you 6 ounces in a cup. And then we'll bring you 2 ounces in a little thing on the side.
Yes.
That like,
if you
look at the cup next to it, you're like, all of this could have fit in here. You think I'm going to respect you more because you brought a second vessel. But at the end of it, I would have respected you more if you just brought me a full ass glass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Brett, is that what you're bitching about? Because we start off this show with asking, I mean, you've been on the show once.
Yes.
Way long ago, in the before times.
Yeah.
But what are you bitching about today?
I was gonna bitch about, hurricane weathermen, but really your discussion of it's funny because like Al Roker was out there being like, I'm in a splash zone. It's like, do I learn anything? And just you standing there, I want to see you try to like, tie your shoes or something during, or like put up an umbrella, put up a beach umbrella in it. Like I want to see them do that. I want to see some comedy like they're being taken away. But no.
Like, use the wind for your physical comedy, like pretend you're like knocking on a door and then like opening it, and then it all comes through. Just like do some, or just blow away. That's my thing. I'm always like, why can't they just blow away? Like I'd watch that.
Anyway. Yeah, it's so bad. But I do want to point out, before I get into what I'm bitching about, you did have some subscribers on Twitch. You had a level 5 hype train with 3,000 bits. You had Holy Beer Dragon gifting 5 subs, Nemo gifting 5 tier 1 subs, Trill South and L Parker X and Just Czar, among others. Those are just
my God. Thank you so much, Brad, for pointing that out. And thanks for everyone who did that. I don't even know what half those things mean, but I think I know bits are good. Bits are, it's like when you go to, have you been to Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland? And they're like,
I haven't.
You haven't? I mean, it hasn't been open for that long, but like only special people have been. The point is that they're like, they call everything credits. They're like, oh, that'll be 5 credits. You're like, well, how much is 5 credits? They're like, $5. And you're like, just call it $5. What's wrong with you? We're not allowed to call it dollars. No.
I hate to break it to you, but I'm a grown up.
Yeah.
For the kids, you could just all day.
Call it whatever you want. Well, thank you so much. So what are you bitching about?
Here's what I'm bitching about. I'm bitching about Lindsey Graham and Ben Sass. Because among all of this, these guys who have been flailing for some kind of identity, like Lindsey Graham just went out on Face the Nation, I think it was, and said this is a dereliction of duty from Joe Biden, and he needs to be impeached and resign and leave office. It's like these guys, Lindsey Graham, who has just been flailing. I think I said he had a nipple dick on the show. Just like his nipple dick his tiny dick is so hard because he has.
No. Okay.
What?
Sorry. No, I was about to. That was really rough. Too much. No.
It's like a little.
Brett is making a small. That's a big old nipple that you're creating right there. By the way.
Well, it depends. Some people got this. I think people have this. All right, how about now?
That's it.
For those listening to the podcast, I've made my nipple dick pinky finger smaller.
Yeah.
Anyways, but his tiny nipple dick is so hard at the thought of going back to a pre-Trump time when his job as a Republican was just to fearmonger about terrorism.
Yeah.
And he could ride that administration into administration. And he gets to be that guy who's like, you're making us less safe. No one's going with him on this. Most people are like, yes, I don't want our people to die, and we don't want Americans left behind, obviously. But your counteroffer is just staying there forever. And
I
over
say
the long term, yeah.
Little nipple dick should go to war. Just head out, bro. And like, you don't even have to worry about, I don't know. Like it's so, I don't know. Like you don't have to worry about any extremities getting like, blown off. Cause clearly your little wee wee is, you can't find it. So the point is these guys should all just volunteer.
The genitalia of Lindsey Graham has got to look like a little penguin toy. Because I'm sure he's got. So picture a penguin.
Like it's got a monocle,
toy.
like the penguin from Batman?
Like the little penguins that are like, I guess it's the shape of a bowling pin, right? Like a little penguin.
And then it's got this like tiny little.
Does it have a southern accent? South Carolina?
Squeeze it. It goes. It's a grain.
I just want a forever wall.
But
just distract from my own problems.
The bottom part of the
you're going too far.
The bottom part of the penguin is his ball sack, and then the little beak is his wiener.
You know, usually I'm the one that grosses John Idarola out, and now you're grossing me out with Lady Gray's penis.
But it's my theory that it's not, and this is the first little penis joke that I'll make about a Republican. My theory on all of them, the ones trying to make the biggest stink out there that they're the dopest, is that they have weird penises. Like, I don't think Tucker Carlson has a small penis. I think he's got a weird one.
We actually know that to be true based on some like serial sexual assaulters and rapists like Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this is not to like body shame, but there is a correlation between those dudes and their mangled ass junk.
Right.
Okay. We gotta move on.
I'm not mad at the shape or qualities of the member. I'm talking about how they handle that condition. Because a lot of people have weird penises, Francesca.
Send them to war.
Yeah, not everyone enters into a forever war because of it.
It's true. All right, we got to move into the week. This was the week where thousands gathered in D.C. for the March for Voting Rights on the 58th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington. Governor Andrew Cuomo left office, but before he did, granted clemency to the political prisoner and former member of the Weather Underground, David Gilbert. Blackwater founder and war criminal Eric Prince offered evacuations from Afghanistan for $6,500 a pop. 16 years after Katrina, Hurricane Ida made landfall in Louisiana, and this time Kanye West will most likely be in favor of shooting looters. And in an interview, Rudy Giuliani says he doesn't think he's done an interview drunk, but also, what was the question? For everything else, this is the week where. This was the week where cattle across the country's butts became a little bit itchier as Americans with COVID have been buying up and administering the unproven livestock dewormer ivermectin to treat themselves. It's been pushed by Fox News. It's been pushed by politicians like Senator Rand Paul and Ron Johnson. The CDC has reported a 24-fold increase in ivermectin prescriptions. And my question is, who are the doctors prescribing this? Like, are they veterinarians? Because that's the only way it makes sense. Like, and that wouldn't surprise me if more Americans could afford to see a vet than they could an actual doctor. Like, that actually checks out. But now, let's be real, we're making horse meds too expensive, and pretty soon horses are going to have to start like cooking meth and selling it in order to pay for their prescription drugs. There's going to be like a whole series about them. And then cows will be like, we need moo to care for all. And yes, queen.
Yes.
Apparently, trips to the hospital because of ivermectin poisoning have increased. People are having explosive diarrhea, all because, remember, they won't take the COVID-19 vaccine and I guess not wear a mask or stay home. One of those people, this is the news, one of those people who's taking the drug is disgraced MAGA star Milo Yiannopoulos, who posted on wherever the hell he's still allowed to post, Telegram, that Parler, that he's got Delta. He says he got Delta from a vaccinated person and it's hitting him hard. He's got a fever and aches and he's lost 80% of his taste, which is funny because he lost the other 20% thanks to his disco Hitler fashion sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then he posted this photo on Telegram of himself self-administering the ivermectin with the caption, "Now we wait." Oh
it's got cows and pigs on it.
Literal cows and pigs on the bottle.
Oh my God. Please.
Just this like bloody needle.
If you take the caption from his Instagram upload, run it through Google Translate into German or Greek, because Yiannopoulos, and then translate it back into English, it says, please, please, please look at me.
I know. I mean, the last I saw of Milo, other than the RNC in 2016, was when he was on InfoWars just like pouring some of those supplements into his hand, going like, well, if it doesn't kill me, like it was doing something else medically ridiculous. It was doing something, another non-FDA approved fucking stunt for clicks. And yeah, he wants us to talk about him. I want to just like, I wish that the COVID denialism made, like, I wish it made sense a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish there was an angle that like checked out, but none of it checks out. It's like, we don't want to be locked down. We want our freedoms. We don't want the vaccine, but we also don't want the mask. Okay. So then none of that makes sense because all y'all are dying.
Well,
okay.
I would get it if it's just, I don't want a government to mandate that I wear a mask. Like, I get that if a doctor tells me, if everyone tells me, but if the government's mandating that I do it, if that's the only thing, that makes sense. That is a strict anti-government overreach thing. And again, like, this is me trying desperately to come to terms with a consistent thing. And if you talk to anybody, like, I make a point to talk to conservatives to be like, call me crazy, burst my bubble. And I haven't gotten anyone who fully says it, but I do understand people who are like, I just don't want the government to tell me to do it. But it never is just that. It is, if a private business tells me I have to wear a mask to walk inside, I hate that private business. I think that should be illegal. I'm going to wear a mask inside that. But if it's flipped and that private business is like, I'm not going to make a gay cake, they're like, yeah, free speech. That's what's frustrating to me. That's the inconsistency I think you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's two things that. One is, it is like, imagine being someone, you're trapped in your own lack of logic, because if you do wear a mask, you look like you're supporting a mask mandate. So on principle, people who know, even if it is just about personal responsibility, they know they should wear a mask, they won't, because they're afraid that they'll look like they believe in what the government also agrees with. And so they don't want to get caught out. That's what I'm saying. They have to triangulate their fucking, ideology first and science and reality second. And then, the comments are saying exactly seatbelts, drinking and driving, how old you can be to drink anyway, how old you can be to buy cigarettes, like all the things. If you want to travel, you need to get your shots anyway. Tell you who's vaccinated. Migrants, immigrants who come to this country and become citizens are vaccinated.
Right. And there's never a priority on the actual information. For me, like, I've read the studies and I've read a lot of information about this. And I know that, like, I want masks to work better than they do. They don't work amazingly, but they work better than not wearing masks. Like, that's what's in all those studies. So I'm going to do the thing that works better. And I understand organizations and private businesses and individuals and governments that acknowledge that fact because it's reality.
Yeah.
That's and everyone who's working against that just wants to feel right. And for so long, like during the Trump administration, I was like, they're wrong, they're stupid, everything sucks, but like, it hasn't negatively affected them in any tangible way, Trump's incompetence. But then it suddenly did. And even that monster that Trump grabbed the tail of bit him when he said, you guys should take the vaccine, and they booed him. Like, that's what's so unwieldy about the entire Trump movement for people who are trying to lead it, when it reveals that the whole time they were actually kind of just following crazy with the algorithm wherever it led them.
I think that this is the last thing I'll say. We have to move on, but I am forever frustrated. I'm mad at Biden putting all the eggs in the vaccine basket. I think that was stupid as shit. And like, I definitely come down on more contact tracing, more involvement. I know, Australia's got protests now, even though they've done an incredible job at containing the virus. I'm with them. I'm with like the Australia and the New Zealand model. Right now, there's new estimates that show that we are on track to have 100,000 more deaths. It's putting us at what, like 730,000 deaths by December 1st, unless we do something. And that something is vaccination, but it's also wearing masks. And yeah, you're right, they don't always work, but the ones that do, like the actual N95s, do fucking work. You can wear that and it works for like 24, 48 hours, something like that. Whereas like cloth masks, it'll last for like an hour, et cetera, et cetera. That being said, I'd like a Biden mask, please. I'd like someone to give me a government issued N95. Although the right would freak the fuck out about it, but you can make it cute or whatever.
Last point before we move on.
Yeah.
Back to the ivermectin animal thing. Did you hear about the socialist veterinarian and what he believed in? It was a single spare system.
Thank you. I knew there was a pun there. Very good. A single spare system.
That's what I was laughing about right after you made your joke. And I waited until there was a time.
Perfect time. All right, moving on. This was the week where the guy who's mad that Monica Lewinsky blowjob jokes don't hit like they used to continues to prove why he should be put out to comedy pasture. Boo-Maher went full okay Boo-Maher again in a rant about why woke American kids should stop complaining about Afghanistan online and just be grateful that they don't live there. Let's take a look at this.
I laughed at that. I laughed at it the first time I heard it.
Oh, dude, that's a rough admission. That's a terrible joke. I just want to say I'm mad at this for so many reasons, but he just named like groups of immigrants who've come to the United States because the United States has destabilized and plundered their countries, right? This is the harvest of empire, right? Asian immigrants, the Vietnamese immigrants, who are escaping the remnants of the Vietnam War, Central American immigrants who are escaping Central American death squads in the 80s, right? To now, those who are running away from drug wars that the U.S. continues to funnel money and weapons into, to the now Afghan immigrants, right? And the 20-year war we waged there, like that, he has no insight or any kind of understanding of why people migrate here. It's not because it's the land of the free and it's great. Oh my God. Have you been to Cold Stone Creamery? There's like a lot of flavors. No, motherfucker. It's because we fucked your country up. And also, second point, have you heard of state-sanctioned murder and capital punishment? The United States is one of like 4 countries in the world that does it, including like Iran and I don't know, Burundi. I don't know where else. Literally don't. It's like us and Iran. There are 2 million people in our prison system right now, Black Americans, in the streets being like mowed down for their beliefs, having their voting rights taken away, immigrants deported who've lived here for decades. Like, shit is good for you, Boo-Maher, but shit is not good for the majority of Americans. Workers are falling dead in Nabisco and Lay's chips factories.
Yeah,
the fuck out of your studio. I'm sorry.
It just drips with like privilege is a word that I hadn't thought about until people started like labeling things as privilege. And I'm like, yes, that is the word for it. He gets to say, because like the kernel of good advice you can find in Boo-Maher's premise is there's bad stuff happens in the world and you should be grateful for every good thing that you have. Thank you. But when it's as you're elaborating, you're like, yo, talk to your maid because you have a maid. Who the fuck are you talking to? Like, you've already admitted who your audience is. In addition to, on every Friday, when you chastise your audience for not laughing, acknowledging that you can't find those people, even on vacation, when your wranglers are down at Santa Monica Pier begging folks to come down and see a taping.
Ooh.
That's what's happening. Like, that's where they go. They go where, like, people are having, like, tourists are. Do you want to see Boo-Maher? Come on down. And he gets mad every Friday. But, like, I would say that both those things can be accurate. Like, that America ruined your country. He doesn't know anything about that. He'll refuse to acknowledge that forever. It's just too inconvenient for him. And there's people who do believe that America is this promised land where you can come and get a job and feed your family and everything. Like, you can still believe both those things, but like, there is no way
that's your takeaway from Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. There's no way that
lesson.
Those two things come together, and there's no way I believe that Bill-Maher really appreciates the nuances of an immigrant mindset. There's no way. All he wants is to like feel cool and like, because previous to that, in his bit, he talked about like, it's so hard for me. I've had 2 presidents up my ass about freedom of speech. It's like, that's what it is. You really get off on people reacting to you. Of course you do. You're a performer, and I get it. But you can see where he gets mad that his jokes just aren't landing because he isn't keeping up with that Twitter sphere that he so hates. Yeah. And that's why.
Yes. And it's an old take. I'm sorry. It's the oldest take. This is your grandpa's take, being like, well, you should be grateful. You live in a free country, and other people, like, it is a finish your broccoli because starving kids in Africa don't have, like, he might as well be saying that to the audience. And like, it's so stale. I don't care that he's an older guy, that he's a boomer. It's fine. But like, it's such a stale take. And last point is, you totally pointed it out. Him saying maid is like, what do you mean maid? Are you trying to say like domestic worker? Are you trying to say even something like house cleaner? Like, are you trying to say someone who you've hired to do work in your, but no, maid is what comes out in his motherfucking mouth. Like, because he has one, because he has staff.
Right.
And you're not supposed to call them, it's not a maid. Oh God.
Right. And it's tough because like, I can't tell the extent to which people who are complaining on Twitter are actually mad. That's the thing. And neither can he. But whenever he sees blowback, he assumes that everyone out there cares so much about him that they're livid and they're gonna cancel Bill-Maher. It's like, no, your low ratings will cancel you.
Yeah.
Not the Twitter mob.
All right, last story before we get into what's going on in Peru. This was the week where Michael Byrd, the Capitol police officer who shot and killed insurrectionist Ashley Babbitt, finally went public with his story to NBC's Lester Holt, and it's very moving, and let's take a look. Let's see. Squee.
We had our weapons drawn.
There's a gun! There's a gun!
Byrd, only his hand and gun visible, targeted a figure trying to climb through a window. He fired a single, fatal shot, hitting Ashley Babbitt. She was 35 years old, an Air Force veteran, Trump supporter, and QAnon follower.
We see your arm out there for a
Is this stuttering for all y'all? Okay.
considerable amount of time. Were you wavering?
Is it playing?
Yeah, now it has stopped.
Okay. All right, you know what? We're going to reset and play it right here.
I had been yelling and screaming as loud as I was, please stop, get back, stop. We had our weapons drawn.
There's a gun! There's a gun!
Byrd, only his hand and gun visible, targeted a figure trying to climb through a window. He fired a single, fatal shot, hitting Ashley Babbitt. She was 35 years old, an Air Force veteran, Trump supporter, and QAnon follower.
We see your arm out there for a considerable amount of time. Were you wavering?
I was taking a tactical stance. You're ultimately hoping that your commands will be complied with, and unfortunately they were not.
Former President Trump has talked about you and this incident. He says she was murdered. What does it feel like to hear that from a former president?
Well, it's disheartening. If he was in the room or anywhere and I'm responsible for him, I was prepared to do the same thing for him and his family.
Would you have his back today if you were so assigned?
I sure would, because it's my job.
As I said, your name has been on the internet for some time in an unofficial way. A lot of rumors, a lot of accusations, one of which is that you had some sort of political motive. You were a political operative.
I do my job for Republican, for Democrat, for white, for black, red, blue, green.
Capitol Police in their press release after exonerating you said your actions potentially saved members and staff from serious injury and possible death. What was it like to hear those words, to see those words?
Those words meant a lot because that's exactly what I did on that day.
All right. That was Michael Byrd, who was a Capitol Police officer who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. And he went on to say that he's faced a lot of death threats, people saying that, he should be beheaded, on brand Vanilla ISIS shit. I don't know, Brett, what are your reactions to just seeing him come forward and those words?
I mean, I didn't learn anything from that I didn't already believe to be true. Like that someone who was working didn't want to shoot anybody, and that, like, I also imagine exactly what the other side's going to say. Like, no one waited for that. That's one of those things that everybody already has what they're going to say before they hear it. And there's nothing that guy can say to change anyone's minds along the way. Like, if Christine Blasey Ford's account of Brett Kavanaugh couldn't have people come away with, like, a different opinion of what happened that day or what this guy was like or any of that, then there's no way that guy's going to do it in a time that charged. Like, already, people immediately during that interview and after, people were vilifying him and lauding Ashley Babbitt as some kind of hero, when truly, like, they are, take the Vanilla ISIS all the way, like, that's their martyr. And they've already started. They're getting her family. They're getting her friends. She was a trespasser, to say it nicely, and a terrorist, to say it accurately.
Yes.
Like, she came there. The next step was Nancy Pelosi's neck. For her. Or Mike Pence's neck. That's what they were doing. Those weren't the people, like, on a tour. There were things up against that door. And there were people with guns pointing them in there. And they had been told many times along the way. On Damage Report, I was saying, like, they already passed the outer gate of the Kabul airport. They got past the second gate of the Kabul, the Abbey gate. They were on the runway at that point, trying to get into a plane. That's where she was in relation to the complex, to put it in their warmonger ideas and parlance or whatever. Like, that's where she was, and she got shot and killed because she was a terrorist. Yeah. And if you support the police on the right, then you should support this guy for doing his job.
I mean, that's the thing that I think has been thrust into full view, is the double standard on display over and over again when it comes to Blue Lives Matter, which Blue Lives, who are they defending? Ashley Babbitt was a vet. Right? She was in the Air Force, like, and there were a lot of folks. And so you realize also, once again, the radicalizing force that going to fight the foreign, other enemy has on you, and makes you believe, all kinds of things. And, like, also is the military can be a very radicalizing force. It cannot be, not everyone goes through that, but it can be. And it preps you and primes you for a lot of the violence that we saw on January 6th. And a lot of folks were either former officers, current or former military. And that's a reckoning we have to do. I will say, watching him come forward, one, I thought it was incredibly brave. I am a softie. And so, man, watching him have tears in his eyes, just like seeing the other Capitol Police officers who testified in the hearing, seeing them get choked up and emotional, you realize it's not a, like, I felt hurt or I was scared. Those aren't the tears. The tears are, man, I felt let down. Like, I felt let down by my country. That I can't believe this is happening, number one. Number two, I can't believe that when I've tried to defend, Congress people, that I've been thrown under the bus, that I've been vilified. Like that, and I know that those tears, and I don't mean to sound super, like, sentimental about this, but, like, when I was, like, arrested for protesting once, when I didn't mean to get arrested, it was not a direct action. I remember crying, and I was like, why the fuck am I crying, Francesca? And I was like, oh, right, you're crying because you're so disappointed that, like, your country sucks so hard, and that, like, you have to be this, you still have to be there, and you've got hung out to dry. So yeah, the last thing I'll say is, I can't believe more shots weren't fired. I mean, Brett, can you believe, like, this is like one shot, really? There hasn't been that much gunfire. There wasn't that much gunfire. And if they were anyone else, if they were disabled activists fighting to not rescind Medicaid, it would have been open fire, open season.
I don't know. I can't like speak to that. I can say what my gut is, which is yes, but like I don't know for a fact because it hasn't happened. But yeah, the flip side of that is there are like, are they badasses or are they cowards? Like if they're really there, I've had, the skill of the last 6 years has been to, read a Trump supporter accurately. Can you? Like, I don't know. What do they want? I'm sure there were people in there that were like, I'm going to beat the crap out of police. We have video of people shoving police officers and the police officers not doing anything. And we have video of a police officer deciding to pull the trigger. Everybody, I guess, to your point, like everybody who shoved a police officer and didn't end up dead should be grateful. After watching that video, I'm still of the perspective that not all cops are bastards. I'm still of the perspective that like there are a lot of bastards all over the place, and that those folks wanted to storm the Capitol and frickin' and whether they knew they were doing this or not, they were threatening the lives of elected representatives in a way that is not in following of the Constitution. So like they're treasonous terrorists. And I know that people on their side hold like the analogs to that group to a much different standard. But as I've always said, I love double standards. Why wouldn't you want more standards? I want more ice cream. I want more money. I want more standards. Having two standards just makes me more of an open-minded person, that I can hold two standards at the same time and not really acknowledge it or feel bad about myself.
When you hold two ice creams at the same time, do you also not feel bad about yourself?
I feel so good, dude. I feel bad if a single...
I regret nothing. All right, we're going to some comments. YouTube, Mark Moore 1219. How many of these maggots injecting themselves with ivermectin can tell you what's in it? Yeah, honestly. It deworms. D's the worm.
That's why I think that the prescriptions are up, because they're like, all right, I'll give you the people amount of it so you don't get ringworm.
Yeah.
I'd rather you do this than go to Walgreens and Milo Yiannopoulos your arm full of cattle dose. Injecting it.
Okay. Ken Goodwin on YouTube, COVID Neighsayers. Bill-Maher, Psalm 1983 on Twitch says, I stopped watching his show because of how whiny he became when his audience didn't laugh at his jokes. He's such a whiny little shit. Yeah, and he doesn't write them. So it's not only that he's mad, he laughs at his own jokes, which is already weird that he doesn't write, and he reads them like he's read them for the first time because he probably is. Ugh. And then he gets mad when his audience doesn't laugh. Whatever. Eric Graham on Twitch. That's not how you enter a building like a normal person on the Capitol Police officer. Yeah, that's not a tour. And Psalm 1983, Blue Lives Matter unless they enforce the law against my violent impulses. 100%. Guys, do you know you can tip the show on Venmo, TBR-Live, TBR Live on Cash App, if you so choose, or, gift the bits or gift the stars on iTunes, or become a patron, patreon.com/bitchuationroom. But let's get into it. We're talking about Peru's new president. Peru's been through a lot in the last 5 years. I want to talk about this latest socialist presidency. This is the Sitch. And joining us, he is a Peruvian historian working as an assistant professor at the Catholic University of Chile. He holds a PhD in history from UC Davis with a dissertation on the role of identity cards in the Andes. In Chile, he trains students on global history and in the circulation of science and medicine in the global south. Currently, he's writing a book on how Peruvians experienced the 1990s and the authoritarian technocratic regime of Alberto Fujimori. Please welcome Jose Ragas.
Hi, Francesca. How are you?
Hi, Jose. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. And dealing with all of our, commentary on horse dewormer, etc. I'm sure you've got a lot of thoughts speaking on science and medicine in the global south. there must be a lot of other miracle cures for COVID. And since the vaccines aren't getting to the global south fast enough, I'm sure people are turning to those, but not because they're denialists. But let's talk about Pedro Castillo from the party Peru Libre. Tell me, he won like recently, like a couple months ago, by a razor-thin majority against Keiko Fujimori, who is the daughter of Alberto Fujimori, who was who was actually under indictment for corruption or something at the time. So tell me about Pedro Castillo. Tell me about where did he come from, and was this victory a surprise?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me this afternoon and tonight here in Santiago de Chile. I'm very glad to be here in the show and to be back in California, at least via this way. Actually, I brought my own Mac from this place. I have fond memories of California. So
Jose's got the UC Davis mug he just held up.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it has been for many of us has been a surprise, the victory of Pedro Castillo. He's a 51 years old rural school teacher. He comes from a rural background, actually, and it was the first time he ran for president, and he won. Actually, it was that reason and many others. It was a very nice surprise, and actually, he won to Keiko Fujimori. For her, it's her third time running for president, and she was very, very close in all these 3 times to get to get victory, and he couldn't, right? And the thing is that Pedro Castillo also he's the first of many, many things. He's the first left-wing president in Peru. He's the first president who comes from. He's a school teacher from the public government, but he's also the first president in 65 years who doesn't live in the capital city, right? So this is
wow.
This is why the right wing and the right people, they were so mad at him. They were trying to build this coalition in order to remove him, even though even before he was taking the oath for president, like a couple of weeks ago. No, so this has created a sort of a polarized environment here. But now the things are trying to get a little more kind of calm, because we are still facing, as you said, a pandemic here, no? And even though the vaccination campaign is going very, very fast, we are the president and Peruvians, they are facing a very grim scenario ahead.
Yeah, and tell me about that. Like, what is the situation in Peru? Why are there 5 presidents in 5 years, and Pedro Castillo comes in. He's a teacher. He is not from the capital, which is crazy. And he's got a slogan, which is "No more poor people in a rich country." Absolutely. What does that mean for a country like Peru? And what are the things that he's promising? Like, why has it been so attractive, given the amount of, I'm assuming, instability?
Yeah, actually, you're right. I mean, we had 5 presidents in 5 years, and actually, and the regular term for a president is 5 years here. But the problem is that we had a lot of crises. There was a political crisis last November when the Congress decided to remove, in a very tricky legal maneuver, President Vizcarra, who replaced President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski, who was elected in 2016, who also won to Keiko Fujimori. So it was a mess, totally. It was a mess, right. and the Congress, they put a very corrupt president, Manuel Merino, who only lasted 5 days, because there were big demonstrations. Actually, one of the largest demonstrations in the history of the country, and that they overthrown this government. So now this is the. I mean, unfortunately, it ended this time of political stability that the country had between 2001 and 2019. Now, it was a very good time in terms of the political stability. There were regular elections, and there was economic growth. So, but what happened is that the pandemic exposed all these problems, not only in terms of the politics, but also in terms of the economic model with neoliberalism. Right, so this has been a very, very complicated conjuncture right now. That because we have the pandemic, there was political instability, and also this is a bicentennial of the country. So the triumph of Pedro Castillo is symbolic and is important in many, many ways. And we are hoping that this could end, or at least improve the political instability for at least a couple of months or a couple of years from now.
Yeah, because there has never been a left-leaning president in Peru, like in other countries in South America specifically. That pink tide didn't hit Peru, and it is an incredibly, an unequal, economically unequal society. And I'm curious as to some of the things he's promising. What is he coming in with? I know one of them is around mining. Like Peru, when you talk about a rich country, Peru is incredibly wealthy in terms of like copper mines and other mining, and Canadian companies and other foreign companies have made a killing off of the Peruvian mining industry. So what is he bringing to the table now? And do you think he can get it done?
I mean, yes. Peru is a mining country. The problem is that Peru depends on minerals a lot. Now, actually, over the past 20 years, this economic growth has depended on how do we export stones, basically, on minerals. No, but we haven't been able to transform those exports into a more productive sector, or to how to retain those the money that is, or the benefits, the profit that is producing the mining. So something that has happened on the one hand is that all these mining companies have been taking advantage of this economic boom, and they have been taking this profit outside of the country. And on the other hand, one of the reasons why his motto and his slogan is "No more poor people in a rich country" is because for him and for his party and for his allies and for many people who voted for him, they are convinced that it's not only that Peru has to be more sovereign, has to maintain control of the assets, but also that they win corruption, because it's another way how these profits and his money, the money is going outside the country, or is not going to benefit to the people who need the most, right? It's not redistributing money because it's going on bribes, it's going on paying to other people of the government, and that explains why there have been all the presidents, even before the past one, all former presidents, they went to jail, or they have been under accusation. Actually, 5 presidents since actually we extend that to the 1990s with Fujimori. All the presidents, they have gone to jail, or they just fled off the country. Only one who didn't want to face accusations, he took his own life, Alan Garcia, because he didn't want to go to jail. But this has been a constant, right? This has been of these cases that have affected, even though these high rank functionaries. So you can understand how corruption is embedded in the country, and why people is so exhausted of voting for the same people, and they wanted a new face like Pedro Castillo in some parts of the country.
Yeah. Can you tell me about the right wing in Peru, and like what's their response? I know that like 80% of the media, for example, is owned by the right, and I think in the United States, because we have, it is the same, like NBC and CBS and other folks, it's still owned by oligarchs, but it's so much more stark in Latin America when it comes to the media. And that's why every time you read something about Pedro Castillo, it's either like he's a Marxist, Leninist, crazy, corrupt guy, or he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's going to be, and it's like, how do we find, the middle road? So yeah, what's the right saying about him?
Yeah, actually, it's unfortunate that the media, the formal media, that all the conglomerate of the broadcasting and some newspapers, they played along with the right wing, and we are not talking about the center right wing or a very smart right wing. We are talking about a very, very rough right wing that makes the right wing of maybe in the US or maybe in other countries to look like a decent center or even left wing party. These are the right wing.
Have you been following American politics, Jose?
Yes,
sure
absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. I can tell you that. Yeah, actually, it makes the right wing Peru makes Trump look like the president of National Academy, and QAnon like a decent movement. It's amazing.
Oh God.
It's very, very bad. The right wing has since the moment that Pedro Castillo won the first round and entered to the ballotage, the right wing in Peru started to spread fake news, not only to discredit Pedro Castillo, but also to discredit any person who decided not to align with the right wing and who was supporting even center kind of program, right? So what they reacted in a very, very bad way, which was totally negative for the country, because they sought to postpone the official proclamation of Castillo. So, and that's why he didn't have much time in order between the official proclamation and when he had to take the oath as president. There was like a less than 1 week. So he didn't have enough time, like to form government or to just to catch up or to make that a proper transition from his own term. So another thing that they did, and actually they copied. They were copying the Trump's playbook in terms of they were claiming that there was electoral fraud, and they never showed any proof of this. Never. Sure. No, they were saying that they were some kind of counterfeited electoral ballots. They were saying that there were a collusion between the official authorities, and they never could prove that. They even went to Washington to try to convince members of the American organizations of Latin America that they had to intervene in Peru because there was electoral fraud, and no one listened to them. So it was they made a ridiculous. They were very ridiculous, but unfortunately this undermined the democratic system in the long run.
Yeah. I'm thankful that Trump wasn't in office to receive that call from please coup us.
Absolutely. Yes.
Please coup Peru.
Yeah.
And Biden's like, no. Trump would have been
no, like saying like Trump. Yeah. So.
Brett, do you want to jump in? I think we lost Brett for just 1 second. But I wanted to ask you about you say the right has been really reticent, has tried smear campaigns. How much is true of some of the things they're saying? For example, not for example, but one of the things I was hearing, and from a critique from the left, is that maybe Pedro Castillo is very religious and sort of conservative socially, maybe against things like pro-choice or gay rights. And maybe I'm not familiar enough with the kinds of civil rights in Peru currently, but how does his politics line up with that?
Yeah, no, actually, this has been a very important grassroots movement in favor of civil rights in Peru, for example, in terms of sexual rights and for LGBTI rights over the past years. But Pedro Castillo is not exactly, he doesn't belong to this kind of, to the left wing who supports these rights in a very open way. He's Catholic. He belongs to a very religious family. And in order to gain votes from another left-wing conservative movement, even though it looks like a very opposite kind of way to say this, but there is a very conservative left-wing movement here. But also he has demonstrated that he can negotiate, that he can be open to change. And during the ballotage, during the electoral campaign, he was able to promise some changes in terms of this, to favor these LGBT movements in terms of women's rights, for example. He has tried to fulfill some of these promises, but it's not enough. For example, there are only 2 women in the cabinet right now, which is a very, very low number of women, because it's a setback from in terms of a gender balance that we have been gaining over the past years. So, but I think that this is something that he needs to, and the people is pressing him, not only in terms of public opinion, but also within his own party. They are trying to push this, to put it in a more public way. So, but I think this is one of the things that we need to keep pushing him in order to promote more gender rights.
And in terms of is he a communist? Isn't he a communist, Marxist, Leninist? Is he embracing that? You know how Bernie Sanders in the United States very much embraced his democratic socialism, which was one of the things I very much admired about him. Is Castillo just trying to sort of pull back on that, or is he, I'm sure he can't be a full-blown communist.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, he has been very, very smart and very, very cautious about defining himself in a specific political kind of line. I mean, he claims that he's from the left wing, okay, which is a very in a very broad sense, which is right. But the problem is that his party, which he's not affiliated to the party, it's like a party who invited him to run for president. His party is a communist party. It's a Marxist-Leninist communist party, and the founder of that party, Mr. Vladimir Cerrón, he's a neurosurgeon trained in Cuba.
Wow.
So yeah, but Castillo, no, he's a more kind of flexible kind of. I mean, he has been union leader, so he knows that he cannot be kind of very, very confrontational. He cannot kind of antagonize, no. But what is interesting is that in Peru, it's very hard to have a communist party or even a left-wing party because the right wing has appropriated of the idea to call terrorists to those who belong to the left wing, because we had this very bloody subversive movement in the 80s and part of the 90s, the Shining Path. So part of the legacy of that, even though the Shining Path was defeated in 1992, part of the legacy is that the right wing has used the term terrorist, or the Peruvian term terruco, to call to those who are in the center, or even to those who defend, for example, gender rights, those who don't align with religious conservative viewpoint, right? Or those who trying to proclaim or to defend social rights. So that's why it's very, very difficult to have a very socialist open agenda here in the country.
Brett, you're back. Did you want to jump in at all?
Well, I fear that I've missed something, but just what is the likelihood, and if you've already answered this, I understand, and apologies for my audio difficulties, but what is the, you had they had one president a year for the last 5 years. What's the likelihood that this one's gonna make it, especially given the opposition on the way in, and I don't imagine it's going to disappear now that his cabinet's gotten the okay. Good job. You win. We lose. What's the likelihood that this president will stick around? Be able to stick around?
Well, I mean, it's gonna be hard. Even though Castillo won, I mean, he, as Francesca was saying, he won with a very, very thin, right, margin. So I think that he has to be very, very careful, because he has to manage in both sides, from his own party, from the radical wing of his own party, right, and also to defend from the right wing. So I mean, he's not in a position that I really envy. I mean, I mean, I think that nobody wants to be in his own shoes. But something that he has also shown that he can be very flexible in terms to, for example, to remove those members of the cabinet who are very kind of who have been exposed to high criticism, or who they don't fit for the job, right? So, but I mean, it's going to be very, very hard 5 years, and the right wing, they want to defeat him, because if he is going to finish his term, that's going to prove that the right wing maybe is not going to be back to the executive power for a very long time. Right, so I mean, so that's what happened, for example, in these past days. I mean, he got both the confidence from the Congress, with a Congress also dominated by the right wing, but he also had to negotiate with several groups in the public opinion. So, I mean, it's totally different.
Yeah, and I was just reading that, that Peru Libre does not have many seats in Congress, so that's sort of he's not in a strong position right now, so he is negotiating, which is good, right? I mean, ostensibly, all around. Of course, once they find a new Fujimori to run, look out. Fujimori, who's not in jail, just you wait, Peru, it'll happen again. Yeah, and I guess, is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of how people outside of Peru should be looking at Peru, given that every time it's a socialist president is elected, at least folks like myself on the left, we all get woo, yay, cool. Yeah. Any thoughts on how we should or should not feel about what's going on in Peru?
Yeah, no, I think that this is a very good opportunity, not only for the left wing to show that the country needed to just to a president and a government to focus more on the majority, because Pedro Castillo won with the votes not only from the urban areas and from the capital city, but also from a very, very vast majority of those who were silenced over the past years. For example, indigenous communities, people from the Amazon, so and even the urban poor. So I think it's very significant that he won the election, but also it's very important for all of us, not only in the country, but also in Latin America or even the Americas, that how we need to rethink the economic model, right? We are not saying that we need to just to abandon capitalism or to just to return to a pre-Columbian economy, like some right-wing commentators they are saying that what's going to happen with Pedro Castillo, but we need to more in terms of the social economy to focus more on people. Right? I mean, the pandemic in Peru hit very, very bad. I mean, Peru has been one of the maybe countries that was more affected in terms of the death toll, and but also the pandemic also revealed the limits of this economic model. Right? Like, no, many people they didn't have coverage in terms of public health, or even right now they cannot access to remote education because they don't have equipment, and also it showed that we need to focus more in terms of that to get a more robust state and to try to find a balance between the economy and the state in order to provide more public services. So I think it's, that if you ask me, I think that we should see Peru in terms of, to be very optimistic on how we are trying to fight back the pandemic. The vaccination is moving very, very fast.
It is. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's good. Even despite the right wing started a campaign to promote ivermectin and to sabotage the vaccination campaign, and saying that you should not get a Chinese vaccine because the Chinese vaccine is very bad. You should wait, for another vaccine, any other vaccine, but not the Chinese vaccine. So
aren't there Chinese mines? Aren't there Chinese operated and owned mines in Peru? Like,
yes,
oh, please, you can, no, you can extract all kinds of jewels and take all the money away, but we trust them to do that. But no, we don't trust them on any kind of vaccine. It's just such ridiculous xenophobia.
Totally, absolutely. And xenophobia is unfortunately very strong in the country, even though the Chinese community is one of the oldest Chinese community in the Americas. I mean, only after California, because of the gold rush, after California, Lima, and the urban coastal area is one of the largest and the oldest Chinese communities here. So it's kind of crazy how you can trust on Chinese in terms of give us your money or give us your donation or whatever, but we don't trust your vaccines, right? It's kind of this insanity that the right wing is provoking here.
I have one final question, which is if Peru taxed people who use Machu Picchu as their dating profile, do you think it could make a decent sum of money to help social programs there?
Just like looking off into the distance. I took a tram up this.
Okay.
No, I'm obviously, that is a joke. Glad you laughed.
Oh yeah, I know, absolutely.
Thank you. I am heartened though that like a lot of the companies are like Chinese and Canadian, because they're like, Canadians don't really coup people that much. So I'm like how would they even? What would they do? They just slowly siphon off mineral wealth. But
not too much trouble, eh? Could we have a different like if you're not busy later, can you change governments for us? Thanks.
Hey, could you leave, eh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Brett.
And
thank you, Jose. Where can we find your work and writing on this?
Well, right now I'm working on a book about Fujimori, about the 90s. So it's like a social history of Fujimori and how Peruvians experienced Fujimorism from in the streets, especially. So once that I finish the book and once that it's published, I will let you know. So maybe we can have a conversation about that.
I would love that. Let us know. And thank you so much for sharing and shedding light on what's going on. Would love to have you back. A lot of people want to hear more about Latin America politics. So anytime, Jose, thank you so much. And take very good care. And Brett Erlich, will you stick around?
Sure.
Okay, we've got one more segment because in honor of the Milk Crate Challenge, which if you're listening months in later, this will feel so irrelevant. But right now, I want you to know that right now it's actually really meaningful. Mm-hmm. And so don't hate. No, the Milk Crate Challenge, which involves walking on progressively larger stacks of milk crates. It's basically like Mario Brothers come to life and features a lot of people eating utter shit. So much so that TikTok has officially banned the hashtag Milk Crate Challenge, which it can do, because remember how it's a totalitarian contraption spying on us. Anyway, they're banning it because a lot of people are being injured. The point is this. I want to know from this audience, from you, Brett Erlich, what is your Milk Crate Challenge in life? What is the difficult thing that takes balance and patience and probably way too much of your free time? This is my Milk Crate Challenge.
My Milk Crate Challenge is ragtime music.
Wow, that's Kevin MacLeod. You show him some respect when you're on this show.
I'm fine with people who know it. The only reason I have like been scarred by ragtime is by everyone I've ever met learns The Entertainer and thinks that the best thing to do to show off is to play it faster than anyone's ever played it before. It's just like, stop it. That's not what makes a good song, is fast.
So anyhow. Wait, this is you. That's actually your Milk Crate Challenge. Like, this is what's like this in life, like the ragtime music.
In life, lately, my Milk Crate Challenge has been trying to figure out where to start with a lot of stuff. Like you're saying, like the thing that I'm climbing, but always kicks the crap out of me. Yeah. So it really, well, aside from the move I'm doing, obviously, that one is just like, oh, I've been packing for 3 weeks and I think I have 3 weeks left of packing to do. For me to bring it back into like a political angle, it's like knowing, it's knowing whether people are serious about their complaints or if they're just being political schmuckos. Like, what I was saying about earlier, the thing I'm bitching about, it's that. And I think that, the same way that people start a sentence by saying bless their heart, and you know exactly what's coming next, they're going to talk crap on someone and really want you to be like, don't get mad at me for this. I'm caveating. There needs to be a caveat like that that's as widely understandable for people who are just going to say something that they just are about to contradict in 5 seconds. But they're only doing it for the purpose of being like, I'm on the inside of this political movement and I don't really want to be right. I just want to feel like I'm together with a bunch of a-holes and that's why I'm doing this. So please don't call me out for my hypocrisy in 3, 2, 1. And I always start engaging and then I take that next step to be like, well, let's connect it to your previous oh God, I fall. And I just have like a femur protruding through the skin. Like, that's the problem.
It's very true in media, especially in political punditry and analysis. You realize that most people are just playing a part and you're like, oh, right. And you're probably...
You can feel it when it's just like, oh, you don't actually have an opinion on this. You just don't want to not have an opinion. So you're going to say like the last tweet that you saw, but not give credit to the person who said it.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, oftentimes we don't have a fully formed opinion. You know what I mean? Like, new shit comes to light, dude, as the dude says. The point is like, it's okay to be nuanced and it's okay to be like, the facts aren't in yet. This, story is still breaking and I don't know. It's a complicated one. Let's wait and see. That just doesn't get clicks and doesn't, help your career as much. But yeah, it's true. It does feel like, especially when you're talking about right-wing media, trying to go up against it or like trying to like corner anyone's logic, you're just going to fail because most people are lying to themselves mostly.
Even fake left or even left-wing media, like the people that we're all thinking about when I say this, where it's like, okay, do you really want, and I see them like be like, I gotcha. They're playing videos where like even in the video there's nothing to get mad about, but they're still getting mad about it. Like that stuff where it's like you don't care about this.
Yeah.
And like the joke is like, I'm gonna go get too specific, but like,
be specific.
Are you mad that
nobody
I
watches
haven't
this
added,
show?
Are you mad that I haven't asked Assad to dinner? Is that what your gripe is? Like, am I because I'm not dining with him every Wednesday, like as a boys' night? Is that why I am a freaking fascist or like?
Oh, so you don't like Assad's snacks? Okay,
that's it. It's like what?
So,
what is the test?
Him doing the like nutty buddy Chex Mix where he like rolls it in powdered sugar and peanut butter. That's not good enough for Brett Erlich.
The fact that we're not wearing matching footy pajamas right now has really angered Jimmy Dore. Like that's like, what the fuck do you want? I can't love Assad. I'm sorry I don't. And your implications that I should. Like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, anyways.
Well, my milk crate challenge is different. It's basically just having a freelance career. Very difficult. I think I like it sometimes, but it's incredibly tough. I mostly like it, but I also feel at any moment I'm going to fall on my ass. And that's hard. Also relationships. I'm like, here we go. We're climbing. I'm engaged. Love me some Matt Lieb, but I'm also like terrified that I'm going to fall on my ass, you know, and marriages.
Really? He seems so great.
He's great, but like, am I gonna fuck it up? I think everyone knows this, right? Everyone has this moment of a relationship where you're like, no, am I gonna ruin it? So I think freelancing and just married life, you're like, or almost married life. Anywho, I'm very real on my podcast, guys.
Let's get into that. Let's hey
get
everybody.
in
Hi,
it.
Joyce
Hi,
Brothers
we're
here.
gonna-
Tell me about
You know, sometimes to bring a little romance into the bedroom. Okay, I'm done.
This is like a pervy NPR show we're doing.
I wish NPR were pervy. From the comments, people are saying working full time while going to college, trying to date in a desert town. I was like, a desert town, like a literal desert town? Okay, is that harder? Or like a deserted town? Anyway, the point is,
perfect. Everybody's got a very dry in the desert town.
Ben Shapiro.
It's great. So I met my wife. I refer to her in other regions as a
very,
desert town.
very dry. That's true. Trying to date, it's like, yeah, just to even anyone getting wet. A lot of spit involved. Okay, all right, I'm done. Motivational posters. My motivational posters are your milk crate challenge. I want to hear more about that. Trying to catch my 3-year-old grandson after a potty session when he's decided it's great to run around pantsless through the house. That just sounds like fun. Watching TV or social media and looking for representation for my culture, being honest, not taking the doomer pill. Ooh, yes. Is that a physical pill?
I love the idea. When you're chasing your pantsless 3-year-old around the house, you're trying to end freedom. Like, you are like, stop being unbridled. I must bridle this joy.
Yeah. And he's just like, my body, my choice. Throws some shit at you. Yeah, I see it. Guys, thank you so much to all of the super chatters as well. That's not a thing, but I'm calling it super chatters. Desiree DeWitt, Arthur Ashbrook, Kev C, 247, Carlos Sanchez, One Off, happy birthday, Chris Nesbitt, Carrie Venus, and to the Twitch subs. Brett wasn't lying. Depressed Progressive, Dragon Princess, Late Bloomer, 66, Masonic, Flex, Trill South, L Parker 3, Just Czar, Chester Pound or LB 623, Flatulence, Slake Hatch, Dave Schmidt 311, and Apo Apples. Thank you guys so much. And Brett Erlich, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Oh crap. You can find me. Where am I on? So Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. I do the happy half hour where lately we've just been answering like who is the best, we've been doing voting. We call it what is it? Battle brackets.
Bracketing.
Yeah, battle brackets where we just do a bracket and see like what's the best cheeseburger that you can get at a chain store. So we got that, and then John Idarola's show, The Damage Report, every Friday. I do that. Francesca and I bookend the weeks.
We do.
Keeping it together, and then you'll see me Fridays. We're gonna switch some stuff up, I think, this week. So there'll be a big announcement on Monday for what's happening to Common Room and some really fun changes that we're doing. And
nice.
then right before this show, every Sunday, I do the Sunday stream where you get Sunday stream, but I spell it the fun way, where we take a look behind the scenes at making the Young Turks, and you help me do my job so I don't have to get up that early on Monday morning to pitch stories.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing this. Good luck with the move.
Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Dankeschön.
And thank you all for being here. Thanks to Becca Rufer, to Maximilian Inhofe, to Ellie Hoffman, to Alexandra Ornes. And we stream every Sunday at 5/8 Eastern. There's going to be a little bit of scheduling changes, but this Thursday, September 2nd, we're going to be live in Portland. You can also watch 7:30. The stream will be there. It's going to be so good. I would love for you to make it. So, put me on the big screen and get some Assad snacks and, let's hang. And remember, guys, fight the power. Fuck the patriarchy. And don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Later.